All right, everybody, welcome back for a Survivor Grand Rapids podcast recap of episode 11. It's your host, Dom. It is good to be back on this Tuesday night. We're shifting it up for today. We are going to go over episode 11, meet our eliminated castaway, and discuss their game and the game moving forward. So we have a panel of guests to bring on before we introduce you to episode 11's eliminated castaway and the fourth member of our jury. So without further ado, let's get to it. And please be warned, spoilers ahead if you have not already watched episode 11. Our first guest tonight is a first-time caller, long-time listener to our podcast. She has played our Drinking Survivor, our day-long version in Cincinnati. Please welcome Kathleen. Kathleen, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Dom?
It is good to be here with you. I'm doing okay. Can't complain. It's kind of strangely warm here in Cincinnati. And
it is.
It's a little jarring.
Kind of nice.
Yeah, not complaining about that.
Don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a emotional roller coaster going from that cold into where we're at right now. You're just kind of, that Mr. Krabs meme a little bit of where we're at. So, Kathleen, fill us in on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being never seen it, 10 being super fan. Where are you at on our Survivor scale?
Ooh, Survivor Grand Rapids, I'd say probably about a 7. I haven't caught up on the early seasons, but True Survivor, I'm going 9.5.
Okay, solid.
Mm-hmm.
So needless to say, you know the game, you know how it's played, and we are excited for your insight on what we have coming. So bringing in our next guest, another veteran of our day-long version in Cincinnati. He has been on the pod before. Please welcome back Snyder. Snyder, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to be here. Happy Mardi Gras, everyone, and great to be back on the pod.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. I know it's been a hot minute since you've been on. We took that hiatus of the season. How have you been enjoying its return?
It's been great to be back. Honestly, I thought about it probably too much during the hiatus when I was gone, and I'm really excited to see how it's continuing to play out and just like beating all my expectations for it. So I'm really excited, really enjoying it.
Do you have a favorite moment from the last couple episodes that has that from the most recent ones that you can give the fans?
I would say favorite moment would have to be, I think, the symbolic leaving of the fedora on the upside down Home Depot bucket.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it really kind of was a nice, like, even if it wasn't the cap to the first half, I mean, it was the unofficial kind of cap to like, all right, first half game's over, and what better symbolism for this particular season in this game than that fedora being left behind.
It's like we're in the end game now, to quote some Marvel movies.
Exactly.
But yeah, I appreciate you watching and keeping up with us. It's good to have you back. So we have a panel of guests from Cincinnati, and we will bring in our fourth and final guest, our eliminated castaway from episode 11, coming all the way from the great north of Grand Rapids, the home turf. Please welcome the fourth member of the jury, Sam. Sam, how are you doing?
Pretty good tonight. Weather's great up here. It's going to last for about an hour, and then it's going to be right back to nonsense. But yes, everything's been going pretty good up here. Been enjoying it myself. I am from the Great White North. I've seen a lot of that this winter, but yeah, it's been fun.
Heck yeah. Good. How have you been liking watching the season play out? I know it's been quite a while since you were in the backyard.
It has been a while since I've been in the backyard, which I think was actually for the benefit of myself as a viewer, because there's moments where I'm watching it and going like, how does this end again? Like it's more of like oh yeah, and like as it's happening, like oh yeah, no, it like comes back to me. But like most episodes, I go in, I'm watching it with a very similar, like watching it with my girlfriend who was not there, like she's like, what happens? And I go, I don't know either. Like I can't. And like I'm keeping her in the dark, but there's also moments where I'm like, I don't know myself. So it's that was because I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a long time ago. I've seemingly lost like 100 pounds. That was cool, but
Yeah. Well, we'll dive into some of those moments we weren't too keen on. I know it was a blur. I'm actually, especially heading into day 3, a lot of this part gets a little foggy for me as the host, because you're kind of just turning and burning and trying to get through the game and finish strong for everybody. So let's hop right into it. So Sam, you started the game on Vengeance Tribe. Can you walk us through your preparation process, what your survivor knowledge was, what you were coming into the game with, who your alliances or who you thought you could play the game with, kind of those conversations? What was your initial thought?
Yeah, going in, very minimal survivor experience. I think like you left in me, I explain that I really had only watched like Total Drama Island, which you left in me fully explaining the plot of Total Drama Island season 1, by the way. Appreciated that. And but that was really it. I think I had texted you once. I'm like, what should I watch? And you like recommended like I think it was Heroes versus Villains. I watched like 2 episodes and I was like, that's enough. But so like and since I've like started watching Survivor, I realized like, oh, okay, there's levels to all this. But I went in and I was like, I wasn't exactly prepared, but part of me I was like, I kind of like that as a part of like you can't mind game the mindless. I had no idea what was going on, and I thought like because there people could have been playing really hard at me, and I'd just be like, I'm just hanging out here. So like that, I kind of gravitated to in the game people who were easy to talk to, and also I've known Tyler since we were in kindergarten. So and before, I was like, okay, let's keep the fact that we're friends kind of is like, because I think even people that knew like, oh yeah, they went to high school with each other. I don't know if they knew we went to elementary school with each other as commonly. So I try to keep that down low, and then I ended up just like playing with people who I thought were strong and like my no experience brain was like win challenges. That was it. So I was just like, that's why I thought I played with Luke a lot, like guys that and like most of my voting until merge was about how am I going to win advantages. Like I just wanted to avoid going to tribal. Like I was now that I've actually watched Survivor, I realized like I was kind of like a purist version of Survivor like that I was trying to play. Looking back, I'm like, that's kind of that's like I don't know, like even with experience I wouldn't change much, which I like. I was happy that I started watching Survivor for real and going like, all right, I wasn't like I don't look back at everything I did like, well, that was terrible. Like you didn't know what you're doing. So that was kind of but I was just trying to win as many challenges as possible. And like my strategy to not get my name written down was don't go to tribal. That was my goal.
Yeah, I think you accomplished it. I mean, the Vengeance Tribe avoided for quite a long time. And some of the things that I want to talk about, especially before you got eliminated, was how you got to the point where you were at in episode, maybe even going into the merge. So you said that you wanted, like you played with Tyler and you were, for lack of a better term, one of Tyler's cult members for a little bit. And so like we see you like really gravitating towards him, but he is not very reciprocal, at least in his confessionals, in terms of like, yeah, Sam's my number one, where meanwhile down the line in the merge episode, you're calling him Allie's my sister, Tyler's my brother, and you're not in his top 3 or 4. So could you kind of fill us in, I guess, maybe watching that back? Like how is it feeling to see Tyler's true colors despite being elementary alumni together?
Yeah. The crazy thing is that everything I said is still true. Like I've known them that long and that's how I based my decisions, I'd say. Like, I was watching him, like, and it did kind of, it sucked knowing that I was like, Tyler was definitely going to use me as numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But he was playing, like, the game he was playing was so chaotic and so, like he very much walked in on episode 1 with a plan for who his top 3 was, and everything, like, that's how it, and everyone else around him was for numbers. And I was part of the numbers. So, like, that was annoying in terms of, like, even like my most confidence I had in the game was, like, going into that last tribal. It was all centered around, like, knowing that I have the guy who's, like, the most influential in the game on my side.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I started to pick up on it a little bit where I knew the moves that I was, if I got to keep playing, and the moves I was going to have to be were going to, like, I could see the writing on the wall. I'm like, it's going to be, like, Tyler and Allie, and then he has to pick somebody. So I knew that, like, I knew there was going to be competition between, like, who his third person he was going to be, like, out of everyone who was going to be there. But I didn't realize, like, how bad it was. And, like, it is kind of, like, that, I don't know, like, since we've played, he, like, told me about that, and I was like, yeah, I could kind of tell, but that does suck a little. But, you know, so that was weird. I think the moment was in, like, one of the first episodes. Tyler asked me, like, who you been talking to, and I was just like, I really haven't. We just got here. And then Tyler's like, what are you talking about? Like, everyone is, like, linked up with alliances. And then fantastic editing to just, like, give me, like, what? Like, I had this pure bewilderment of, like, people are already linking up right now. I thought we were all friends. What are you talking about, dude? So Tyler told me he thinks that's probably that was the moment where he was like, with this guy, like, so.
Well, I mean, to be fair, to give yourself credit, Sam, I don't think anybody was really talking alliances besides Tyler at that point. So, like, it was all his perception, and you were just as clued in as the audience was on where everything was going. Kathleen, I got a question for you. Just as, you know, somebody who's watched informed me that, you know, you've watched every single episode of Survivor, kind of, you know, each season in a row recently. And I feel like Sam's play style is very old school, at least very, like, challenge based, wants to stick to the loyalty. How, like, I guess, what are your thoughts on how that played out in Survivor Grand Rapids? And do you think that may be a winnable strategy for the game?
Yeah, I'm definitely, like, a fan of old school Survivor and, like, the old school style of play where it's more just, like, honest and, like, based on, like, the people you're friends with in the game. And I feel like in this instance, it definitely hurt Sam because obviously there are people who have seen the game and, like, came in with the attitude that, like, I'm going to play really hard. I have all this strategy. So, like, opposite ends of the spectrum. And so that was just unfortunate. But, like, I love the style of play where it's just like, these are my friends. This is my alliance. Like, we're going to get to the end together. Camaraderie, kind of fun energy. But yeah, I was, like, very impressive that, like, with all the crazy strategizing that has been going on, especially the last few episodes, that, like, you really stuck in there, Sam, and you were there to have a good time, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sam, I know when we were sat down to do, like, your interviews, you kind of stressed the loyalty and that strategy, you know, kind of being at your forefront, just being honest and being loyal. You kind of describe yourself as, like, that golden retriever that wanted to, you know, that was just playing the game. One of my favorite, I mean, I don't know if you feel comfortable with me sharing this story, but it's one of my favorite stories. It was when we were playing just off the game. We were all playing, like, one of those social deduction games where, you know, you have, you know, Among Us style, like, somebody's a spy, someone's, like, not in it. And Sam was a spy, and he was asked if he was a spy, and he got a notification on his Apple Watch that his heart rate spiked at that moment. So, Sam, with that context for the audience, like, did you expect could you maybe walk us through how you approached like that lying? We saw a lot of different strategy from you, from like just skirting around a conversation or just avoiding the conversation in general. Like, could you walk us through maybe your approach to that lying aspect of the game?
Yeah, I said in the show a couple times that like when I said I was going on it, my mom specifically was like, "You're not good at lying. Like how are you supposed to win?" And I was like, the same way I got away with stuff in high school, man. I just need to not give key details away. So I think, like, for the most part, the only I don't think I out and out ever like made a statement, but if someone made an assumption that was wrong, that was my only way of the main tool in my toolkit for lying was like, if someone just made an assumption, I won't correct you. So I voted that was me, because he thought I voted for Josh, and he's like, "You voted for me, right?" And it's just like, yeah.
So I was going to ask that because you came in with like the honesty aspect of it. But I feel like one thing that got really grazed over in the footage was how you were able to convince Luke that you were on his side for that whole time. And I think that is a really underrated move from you, mostly because I had zero footage of you like talking with Luke about, that conversation or your bond with that. Could you tell us a little bit about how you kept his trust after footage shows you turning on him?
Yeah, it was, it's definitely based on we got back to camp and I was like, how can I work this over so we're better? Because I just voted twice in a row. And when we got back, he was like, we were just talking. He's like, that was crazy. And he was like, I think it was something like, he didn't really, we're trying to figure out like, who do you think voted for everybody? And he just was like, okay, so who would have voted for Josh? Well, like you and me. And I just like, and in my head, I just like, whoo, thank God, that was easy, because he just assumed that, and I was like, I'm not gonna correct him because then I don't have to have this conversation. Like, so that was that was it. It was just like he had made the assumption, like we were trying to count up who voted for who, and he was like, well, you and me, and I was like, mm-hmm. And then like while I'm watching the show, his confessions go out like, oh, so I know he Sam's with me, and I was like, he does really. So and that was the whole. I knew I couldn't pull off bold-faced lying to somebody, so like I had to either tell the truth or withhold information to the best I can, and like in a way that would be advantageous for me.
So majority of the game, despite being like a part of Tyler's group and kind of, being maybe part of that Grand Rapids coalition, using your terms, you still kind of played your own game. You navigated that first swap by yourself. And then you did get Allie that second swap. So you played a pretty, rogue pre-merge for the most part. You never went to tribal council with Tyler really until that big joint tribal. Snyder, I got a question for you. Just generally, what did you think of Sam's pre-merge?
Yeah, I think it was at times a little unsure in its direction. He had that kind of alliance back to Tyler, back to Allie, back to what he thought with the Grand Rapids. But I think Sam himself puts it really well. You can't mind game the mindless. And like, I think it was reflected pretty well. You were just like, I'm just going to stay with the challenges here, see what I can do for, getting along to the next round and kind of survive in advance. And I think it does take a little bit of that, game knowledge to really think like, all right, I have long-term strategy plan here, but is that really where it is? And do I really need to like check in on that or pivot from that? I think a little bit of that probably was lacking. I think that that's something that I don't think Sam. I don't think you'd be snake bit by that a second time, but I think that probably came and got you a little bit on this first time around.
Sam, yeah, I guess could you kind of summarize like your pre-merge experience? Because I feel like with all the chaos going around you, like you were very much partnered with people that were either very active in the votes and you either went along with them or you were making like decisions like but only in your confessional. So like it's really hard to like translate that kind of social game or strategic game to the screen. So I want to like give you, I guess, maybe the opportunity to let us know or cue us in on like your thoughts of that style of social and strategic play.
Yeah, I think pre-merge was like, I think just the nature of how Survivor works, it is more, I was like, I knew if I can get to merge, like, let's just keep winning challenges. So like I said before, like I got to align myself with who people I know I can make it further with. And then the other thing is like pre-merge was weird because we started like I started off, with like everyone who I was partnered up with, but then like day 2, I immediately get like shipped to the other tribe, and then all with that, I get shipped to the other tribe. I don't like everyone had a partner in the game on the other side. My partner gets voted off first, so I never had that, and being the first guy to lose somebody, I was like, you asked, like, how's that feel? I'm like, not great. I don't really know what advantages that would necessarily give me long term, other than like it would have been. It didn't dawn on me until like I was walking the other tribe, like, man, it'd be nice if Chase was here. Have like because I had everybody over there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, so like that was when I get over there. I'm like, all right, what was working for? It's like I hate to only be. It's so crazy that I feel like for the next probably 3 episodes of this, everyone's gonna be talking about stuff that Tyler was doing. But like, I did look at Tyler. I'm like, this is what's going right. What can I do over there while we're separated? Because I had to make sure that when we come back together, I'm there as well. So I was like, Tyler was really trying to sell people on this whole like get someone from Grand Rapids to win thing. And I was like, that seems like something that I could sell people on easily. There's a lot of people from Grand Rapids here. He's the one who pointed out, he's like, dude, even someone from the East Side won the Grand Rapids season last gen. I'm like, you're right. So like that was I was like, okay, who can I match up with? So I started like I was talking to Josh and Luke for a while, and like that was still based on challenges. I really thought I was looking at us three and I'm like, gosh, we could like get a couple wins together, like me, Josh, and Luke. That could be together. Luke was bringing up good points. Like he's trying to break up all those couples, and I was like, that would work too. So like that was also an early goal of mine as well. I'm like, if we can break up a lot of these couples, and I like be on that side of it. There was a thought process of like if I could get like Tyler or Allie out, they're not going to worry about each other, and then I would just like I'm like, don't worry, you got me still. Like that was part of it as well. But yeah, it was a lot of just trying to make sure I was in like the strong position to not go to tribal, and like the go with the flow aspect. I look back and like I didn't make a whole lot of like decisions for the group, but I don't mind that because I look at the things I was doing that would be going along with the group. I'm like, well, what else am I like? It's not my fault. I didn't have that idea. Like so the going along with it, and I was like, this is good too. People will know I'm easy to work with. I'm agreeable. And then when the time comes, I can either make a move on them or also in my mind, I assume that I'm like, I'll just get to merge and just win immunity 8 times in a row. Like that was partially the game plan as well. I'm like, yeah, they can't vote me out. I have that damn necklace. And so like that was the goal anyway. And honestly, But to be honest, pre-merge where I should have known it was over is when I accidentally broke the real idol. I thought that was probably
Okay. That was your bad omen.
That was probably a sign of things to come.
Yeah. Well, no
bad
bad blood from production. I remember you looked at the camera.
I was terrified to tell you.
I was in a bad mood. It was okay. We had the backup idol. I didn't use that idol first for a reason. We got all our giggles out with that idol. But now it's a piece of ornament in my apartment. But anyways, yeah, so it sounds like, Sam, you were planning on playing the middle, basically. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that like kind of what we're getting? Is if Tyler shifts power one way, like, you know, you're there for it, and if not, then, you know, you have your way out, kind of.
Yeah, like, yeah, I mean, tide comes in, big fish eat the small fish, and I just keep paddling. That was the goal.
Yeah. Okay. Good metaphor, or simile. I don't know whatever English.
I'm not an English teacher.
Yeah. So I think some of the last things I just want to wrap up about was that second swap, because I think that's really when we got to see you lock in. You know, in the best way that we could. I mean, there's no reason that Allie should have been able to come into that tribe, tell Zoe basically that, you know, hey, I voted out your boyfriend in less than 30 seconds, and then still be able to make it as far as she did, you know, 2 more tribals. And I think part of that is because of you, and because of you being able to flip that narrative almost of like, hey, like Allie has that extra vote. Like, you worked with Luke, you helped flip Luke on that vote potentially. I still kind of reviewing the tapes on that one. And then, yeah, you helped steer that direction to vote for Zoe. Allie flipped that vote to McGingo last minute. And then you still had a really big, you know, say in at least like sticking together and going for McGingo. You guys were also outnumbered until Hannah came over and gave you guys the numbers there. Could you maybe talk? I think that round going for Zoe and McGingo ending up getting the idol played on her was maybe your strongest round. Watching that round back, do you think the same? Like, could you put yourself back in that position of like that sense of power, I guess? Like, what were your thoughts on that?
Watching back, that was definitely like... That was like an episode at the end of it. I was like, I was balling that day. Like, that was a good one. Like, that one, I felt like I was actually in control. And because it felt so good going in. Because even after they used the idol, I just like, quick pivot, then we're out of there. So, like, that, like, and Allie brings up the idea, like, switch McGingo. I was like, rad. Because that's what I wanted. Like, I wanted her out for a while because it always felt like she was one that was going after me. Like, turns out it was Zoe the whole time. That was wild. But like, that's at the same point. But that episode definitely felt good. The switching on that, getting everyone, I'm like, guys, she's got the extra vote. Like, trying to just use the tools that I had laid out. I'm like, this works for everybody. We eliminate I think the thing I said after was like, task failed successfully. I think I went in wanting somebody else, but I was like, it's great that we got her too.
Yeah,
she's gonna keep winning challenges. I'm like, have you guys seen her? Like, she's gonna kick every one of our asses individually. Like, we got to get – she's the biggest threat we got.
Bingo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool. That was – I felt good about that one with all, like, the plan we made going in, and then, like, over – is that – I didn't realize till I watched it, but, like, that – her using that idol, if that goes – like, that could have – that was the closest I thought I was to, like, losing it. And I went – and I just didn't let that phase me.
You had some good reactions to tribal, some good reactions to twists. I always appreciate a good good blindside face. So,
Dude.
Speaking of the blind side, we can get to the merge episode.
Yeah.
You kind of described how pre-merge, you kind of were positioning yourself to be in the middle, and then pre-merge comes, and then it seems like you really just decided to jump on board with the Tyler train. And then that whole canoodle session, you were spreading that information. You were ended up getting lied to about stuff like that, or about, what was actually going on. And then at tribal council, John pulls out the advantage. Could you walk us through your thoughts? Could you walk us through
Yeah. I had never, to this day, that is like the biggest swing of my confidence I think I've experienced. It was like, because I'm going in, like, this is such, like, as far as tribals were going, me walking into that one, I'm thinking, like, open and shut, we're all going this way, nothing's crazy is going to happen. And then I'm like, this will be a business as usual, and then we'll all go to bed. And then John uses, like, he's explained the safety chain thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, this wasn't supposed to happen. This isn't part of our sweet plan that's going to get us to sleep early. And, like, there's a moment where I think he goes, so my first I'll pick Luke. And then I was like, Luke might pick me. He picks Hannah. And I was like, okay, we're still good. It's still good. Hannah's going to pick Tyler. Tyler's going to pick probably me or Allie. I'll get the other one. And then, like, Hannah picked somebody else, and I went, oh, no.
She picked Aubrey.
She picked Aubrey. That's what it was. So once she picked Aubrey, I was like, oh, man. And, like, that was like, because now I'm thinking, great. There's just us four. I'm really have a 25% chance to get out of this. Allie's idol is back out. Is back at camp. And I just like, so that was crazy, because I went from feeling super secure, and I can just be like, the plan was, I'm like, I could see how tough, like, Tyler was going to be. I was like, if I can be like a second in command for a very long time, and then, or if I could be Brutus to Tyler Caesar, if you will, for a while, and then I end up Ides marching this guy, I was like, this will be great. And then all that goes away. So it was like, I was making plans for after that tribal that all had to get rewritten right after. So it, like, not only did it feel like, shoot, I am not in the same spot I was 10 minutes ago, I got to re-game plan for the rest of tomorrow. So it was such a twist. I had no idea what to, like, and it shook me up, because I was like, great, now I felt so confident going in with what everyone else was supposed to be doing, that when it was finally not, I was like, okay, I don't even know who I have no idea who I can trust now, is the craziest part. Like, because every one of these people just lied to me. So it was that was intimidating, because, like, when I woke up, I'm like, it's shamelessly look for idols o'clock, and I just like, it's that's kind of where we were at when I woke up the next morning.
Yeah.
And then I voted for Tyler because
you voted for Allie on that.
I voted for Allie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think because I believe the plan was
there was a group canoodle that I cut out of the tribal episode that we leaked during the last podcast, or I provided some information where you, Tyler, and Allie and Carrie got up and talked to each other, while everybody else just couldn't, like, got together and we're like, so we're just doing Tyler, right? And then meanwhile, you four were like
trying to come up with something so complicated.
Like, so I think you decided to just try to split votes on each other to see if something would happen. But yeah, it was.
Can I say how we were confused? Because I do remember this.
Yeah.
There was a moment when we four were thinking, when you were safe, you didn't get to vote.
Yeah.
One of your wonderful producers, they all do a great job, pointed out, no, they can vote still. And we're just like, well, the plan's off. And because when we thought we were the only ones who could vote, we were like, all right, everyone just vote in a circle. and we'll just let fate decide.
Yeah.
But then he's like, no, you can actually vote. And then I'm like, what do we do? And Tyler's like, just vote for me. I heard something like, I was like, and then I'm thinking, what if they just don't? What if everyone votes for me? What if everyone's voting for Allie? So I go, and also I didn't think Allie would leave the idol at home. So I was like, if I vote for Allie, knowing that she has it, I can tell her, like, well, I knew you had the idol. I knew when we were just going to be over. And then it could be whoever out, then just like let Allie vote somebody out herself. Get back to camp and be like, hey, it worked. Now they think I'm with them. And
Yeah.
But no. And that's not how it turned out. And
that's
so,
okay,
like,
Sam. That's what brings you here with us.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah, I was thinking during that tribal council, you had a few of those like freeze frame moments where they could be like, yep, that's me. Probably wondering how I got in this position right now. But yeah, anyways, Moving on. We recapped your game, caught up to where we're at episode 11. We're going into day 3, but before we get into day 3, we have some tears being shed. We have Hannah crying, who I can fill you in on behind the scenes stuff because it gets discussed at Ponderosa a little bit. And if I ever get to editing Ponderosa episodes, then you'll see it. But I guess essentially Tyler got up at tribal council when he was being voted out and just gave her the cold shoulder and acted pretty salty towards her. And so she was in her head that, it was not a good space of being friends. And I think that's one of the hardest part about playing the game and voting out your friends. I guess, Kathleen, could you kind of tell us your thoughts on Hannah's move? Because she really had that whole autonomy to either throw off the plan that the majority created to go for Tyler, or did, maybe give her reassurance, or was she right for feeling wrong for doing Tyler dirty?
I definitely understand the emotions of it and where she's coming from, because especially in Survivor Grand Rapids, even if you don't know anyone super personally, everybody's interconnected and you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So I totally get the emotions behind that, but I 100% think she made the right choice. I think it will look really good for the jury, and overall I think her gameplay has been great, and I think she can talk circles around anyone and reassure the heck out of people, and the way that she's playing is very impressive.
Nice. Hear that, Hannah? Put those tears away. Snyder, I'm curious for you too. Day 3 is going to be that final stretch. It's the end game that, you're almost there, but you still have a whole day ahead of you to get to that point. Allie shed some tears going into the day, but then it's a fresh new day. The sun arises, and we get some really, in-depth confessionals. And I got to give a shout out to our production team on that, specifically Charlie, who sat down with me and basically filled me in about where everybody was at in the game. And we asked these questions intentionally to at least give them a chance to breathe in the morning, to tell their story of where they're at, where they see themselves in the game. Who might have stood out to you as being in the best position waking up on day 3? Who had the best grasp of the game?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think there's a couple really strong candidates there. You kind of see the, victorious, John waking up in the morning, it says, I'm up, I'm here, we're off, my big move. Oh, it's just me, my big move. With hilarity to it. But, I think that he knows he's kind of catapulted himself up the ranks, has made a bona fide, huge move in the game, but has also, positioned himself with, the power lines for the time right now. So I think, in that morning, he's kind of, like a lion over the kill a little bit still. He says, here's Tyler's body. You know, this is my trophy. This is my key to the end right now. So I think that he definitely, you know, like, and rightfully so, you know, he gets to reap those spoils a little bit in that moment.
Yeah, we see a lot of different, like you said, a lot of people have some strong morning confessionals. I think Aubrey has a fantastic one, you know, talking about her game. Carrie has a really good confessional too, recognizing where she's at. You know, having been to exile multiple times, recognizing that her name's been on the vote for the past 2 days. You know, going to tribal after tribal, but she's very self-aware of that. I think a lot of these players are very self-aware of their moment in the game. Kathleen, throw that question to you. Snyder's already talked about John. What confessional might have stood out to you the most for the morning?
I would kind of agree with Carrie's. I have been rooting for Carrie since the beginning, just because we played Drinking Survivor with her, and a big fan of hers. And like, obviously she's so self-aware with like her position in the game, but I feel like she has the chance to kind of use that position and, you know, be a sway vote for kind of either set of people. If she plays her cards right, I think she could still do really well in this game. So I'm rooting for her. I'm excited to see how it plays out, Carrie.
All right. Yeah, Carrie stands unite. Sam, you do your morning confessional, and you wake up and you seem very humbled. You got the night before. You wake up and you said that, you know, you wouldn't. It was idle hunt the clock, shamelessly. However, sitting down and doing the like your morning confessional, we don't really get to see a lot of that idle hunting. We see you maybe more assume that social position without like kind of acting a little bit like nothing really happened the night before. Like, we don't see you making too many inroads, supposedly. I guess, could you walk us through that morning strategy of what you were trying to do?
Yeah, there was, when I woke up, there was an element of like, I don't want to say a man defeated, but it didn't, like, I was like, it's not looking great. So like when I was at camp, I was just like, that was like, I think me just trying to like pretend nothing happened. Like, we're still just like going back to like what I've been doing the last 2 days was a bit of like my coping mechanism almost. I'm like, how can I get out of this? I'm like, I'll just, so far what's worked for me is just being like nice guy, helpful around the camp. So I was just trying to do that. Like, you see me, I'm like trying to start the fire for everybody in the morning. And I'm like naively thinking like, what if I start this fire and then everybody will start liking me again? Like, but I don't know. That was part, like, there was that. I like was looking around the grass and I was like, maybe I shouldn't, but maybe also like, who cares at this point? Like, they want me, everyone here wants me dead. So like that, I think in the morning I was thinking that it was a lot of like, it's fine, everything's gonna be fine. I swear, it's like, house isn't on fire, it's actually good. But I knew, and that it didn't look. I was like, this probably doesn't look great, didn't feel great. But if I just try to soldier through and like, because at that point too, I still thought I could win this immunity, which that was going into this before the challenge. I was like, maybe I just win it. Like, I'll worry about that when it's something to worry about. Right now, I should worry about trying to figure out how am I going to win immunity, and then I'll worry about surviving after.
Yeah, immunity was a big shakeup. It was our touchy subjects challenge. It's one of my favorites to do. It's not a lot of anybody else's favorites that has to do it. We upped the budget this year because we had money to play with. Still ended up in the hole somehow at the end of the year. No, but that's neither here nor there. But me personally, built that with my own hands, and we got that cool little contraption up and running where they got to actually, slice, not chop the rope to, have the names fall down. I thought that was pretty cool. better than rocks and buckets. So regardless of all of that, they still had to write down their you contestants had to write down your answers to these questions. We saw a strategy kind of from Hannah entering the challenge. She basically said, like, if I purposely don't write what other people are thinking, then like I don't get blood on my hands. And we saw very early that people were okay with like getting their blood on their hands, because it was very, I cut you, you cut me at the beginning. Kathleen, again, Survivor fan, you've seen this challenge play out in multiple seasons. For some reason, they haven't brought it back for these new ones. Is there a strategy to that? Like, how do you play this challenge? Should there be a strategy to this challenge? What are your thoughts on touchy subjects as a challenge, and especially how this one ended up playing out?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a strategy, especially, depending on how things are going post-merge and who you feel like you need to keep on your side, who you feel like can take a hit, that kind of thing. But like this challenge, like in all the like Survivor seasons and like in this past episode, like does really draw lines in the sand and kind of shows you who your true alliances are, which can really shake things up. But at the same time, it can be good to kind of see the honesty in people and see maybe have some things revealed that you didn't realize were happening around you.
This challenge, I mean, there's always going to be winners and I don't want to say losers in this challenge, but there's going to be winners and those in the hot seat from this challenge. Winners, we got some big titles handed out. Fan fave was going to be John. Best position to win the game is also John. Meanwhile, players who would you trust with your life? Hannah got that. Who canoodles too much? Eli. False sense of confidence in the game. Eli. Doesn't deserve to be here. Sam. And then who would you vote out if you could right now? Carrie and Luke received that one. So winners and losers, or winners in the hot seat, winners and those in the hot seat for this challenge. Sam, I'll ask you first. How are you feeling? How are you holding up from touchy subjects?
I should praise. It was very fun to cut the string, by the way. But other than that, I can't really admit I was a huge fan of doing touchy subjects, because I knew this day would come that I'd have to watch it again. But I remember how it felt. And then it wasn't as bad watching it, but I remembered it sucked so bad, because it felt like everyone that was negative was about me, and that's kind of to the point where it's like anything else that I did afterwards, like in my memory, it went all that stuff happened tribal, because I was like, what else? Because even the ones that I didn't win were people who has a false sense of confidence? I had to look around. I think Eli put me, and I was like, joke's on you. I have no confidence anymore. And it's just the getting the one that said you don't deserve to be here, and then that was a slam dunk for people to get right. I was literally I mean, in the moment I was like, fair, but also mean. It didn't help, but before that, I already was like, this is going to be hard to get out of this without a lot of my key allies that have already been lost. And then that certainly didn't help. So I don't know. I look back, I obviously disagree with that statement, but that all the other 8 people made. But it is. But I'm I get it where they're coming from. Where I was playing a very reserved game, where it's they probably, if they just thought who's made the least amount of moves, probably this guy. So I get it, but it's still it wasn't fun to hear, but I get it, and
yeah,
that was
I think, I mean, just from seasons that we've done, I mean, the one who always doesn't deserve to be here tends to be the one that's just on the bottom. Like Kyle got it last year, or for last fresh meet. And then just people that don't seem to be in the majority seem to get that answer. So I would, wouldn't take it to heart. Obviously you deserve to be there. We've seen the game that you played to get to that point. I would almost argue, that, the real people that were in the hot seat from that challenge would be those that got those bigger titles, like best position to win the game. That's a huge spotlight on John. And then, so Snyder, what were your thoughts seeing some of those awards revealed?
Yeah, I think it's such a great challenge in that, it's immunity based off of social game and social awareness, and it really takes the reading to that of another level. And I think that, I think that the answers, Hannah talked about kind of throwing her answers towards different ways, but they seem to be, an accurate reflection of the group as opposed to like targeted towards something. But yeah, I think it definitely, raises some questions and to think about. I think that, with John probably reading the room there, but Eli, I think, comes away with a couple of things to question of, people thinking that, this false sense of confidence, talking too much. It's like, do people view me as a snake? I think Luke kind of caught astray as well, for people saying, he's like, they're voting me off. Like I was in with everything. I was in the safety chain. So I think, it can cause a little paranoia there. And Hannah kind of continues to float along with the one they really love to play with, which I think is a good reflection, and honestly, probably not one that I think people are going to remember too much about her because of those positive feelings, but definitely gives her a boost of like, oh man, like, all right, people are really enjoying playing with me. I have a couple different avenues I can go with.
Yeah, or it could give people like a side eye of hey, like everybody's kind of enjoying playing with Hannah right now, like just to see how those connections are. Sam, you did get that doesn't deserve to be here, but ultimately Carrie was the first one out of the challenge. Carrie stands unite. She was the first one out. She had a tough go at that. She was attacked by Luke, and I believe Aubrey cut her as well. Luke went at her twice, I think, in that challenge. Sam, I guess, like, did you see like Carrie being lower than you at that time, or did you still feel like you were on the bottom?
It definitely, like, even her getting out before me, I couldn't get over the "you don't deserve to be here" is like how that felt.
Yeah, fair.
Like, so I don't think it didn't feel like her going out before me kind of made me like, all right, maybe she's maybe in a worse spot than I am right now. Like they're clearly like, especially in a game where like that, where you have to pick people to not be in there, you're essentially like every time that you vote for somebody in that game, you're saying all 7 other people deserve to have immunity in some way. Like it's almost how I was looking at it. So her getting out first, people are like, okay, clearly they do not want her around. They don't want me around either. It gave me a little bit of like, maybe Carrie can do this, but also kind of like if the same logic of like John having a target because people are like, he's doing great. Someone getting you're doing not the best sign in that kind of challenge to me is like almost a vote of that is this person that could maybe slide under the radar a little bit if they play their cards right. And I say as much when like one of my last confessionals where it's like, if I could get out of this, I think I can go really far. But that is a gigantic if. Mm-hmm. So Carrie going out before me, it was like, that was like a tiny light at the end of a very dark hallway of what I was looking at is kind of how that felt. Or I'm like, maybe that's the plan. If it's either like it's her, it's probably me, but there's a chance it's not, is kind of how that felt.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So you said, flying under the radar. The other thing I want to touch on this challenge was our two contestants that, I believe Allie also, I don't remember if Allie got something, but I want to touch on Zoe and Aubrey, who didn't get anything for this challenge. Like they didn't get any, subjects or prompts, I guess. Kathleen, question for you for this one. When it comes to them, like, what is that balance? Like, do you feel good at the fact that you didn't get anything because you're on nobody's mind? Or do you feel like that is maybe a push to be a little bit more visible so that if and when you get to that final three, you can be at the forefront of people's minds? Like, what is that balance of, being the best position to win the game like John and then not being on anybody's mind to get anything?
I think like from a gameplay standpoint, it does put them in a good position because that challenge can be very jarring within certain relationships. So, if you're not at the forefront of people's minds saying, oh, people think this of them, people think that of them, I think that can be an advantage and kind of help you slide under the radar a little bit more and not have like your name come up in conversation. But in terms of like making it like further down the line and like thinking of like jury votes specifically, like it's kind of eye-opening to see like, well, if nobody was voting for me, good or bad in either way in that challenge, what is everyone on the jury thinking of me? Like they might not hate me, but they like clearly don't think that I have great gameplay. So it can go either way, I think. But I think for now they're in a good position. They just need to put something on their report card and make a move.
Okay. Interesting. Well, yeah, Eli ends up getting immunity. This ended up in one of those like default situations where he just got to cut the last person that was there. But he does go back to camp with immunity, and he is separated from the group, talking with Sam, talking with Allie. Meanwhile, the safety chain group, minus Eli, are reconvening on what their next move was, which I thought was kind of surprising, that was just out in the public of this big group coming together. And Aubrey points to John and goes, hey, like you made the move last night. What's the move today? And John was, well, I'm feeling good with you guys. Snyder, talk us through that group discussion. Like, I guess, what are your thoughts on them coming together and making that group play fresh off that challenge?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, they've seemingly drawn their lines, after the Tyler vote, and I think in kind of the first post endgame vote, there hasn't been a whole lot of chance to analyze and say, okay, like what am I really pulling here? So I think the safety chain, for lack of a better comparison, represents the safety for them right now. They say, okay, we had the numbers together, we had the trust in each other, willing to make this big move together, and we're going to kind of go back to that. I think it was really interesting that Eli wasn't there, and I'm excited to see if he gets pressed on that and how he wants to explain that away later on. Now I know like he was back in and with the vote and everything, so it doesn't seem like it's ruffled too many feathers for him. But I thought that was a really smart play in saying, okay, like here's the olive branch, real or not, but I'm going to use this to get some information while still having that backing of the safety chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, game design wise, we had the safety chain, and we talked last podcast about how that was kind of a big risk for us, because if it ended up in the wrong hands, if it ended up in like Tyler or Allie's hands, you would have this big majority of Lions that already had been running the game in an even more powerful position. And so we were kind of hoping with that, that touchy subjects challenge right off the bat, that might shake up the standings a little bit. But instead, we see this minority alliance that was crafted out of the safety chain kind of assume this new, position of Tyler's former alliance and deciding to vote together. And in that group, they bring in Zoe. They kind of bring in Carrie in with that too. Meanwhile, Eli is receiving a gift from Allie. So this is the second season in a row we've had someone give an idol away. And Allie's reasoning behind that was Eli was in the know. Eli was in the know. She didn't feel comfortable using it for herself, which I kind of understand. If you forget it, your brother goes home from it. And it wasn't yours to begin with. Aubrey found it and gave it to Allie, but she still had an idol in her possession. And she gives it to Eli, who already has immunity, who's in the majority alliance. Kathleen, good play, bad play, middle of the road play. Thoughts?
Definitely wouldn't call it a good play. I mean, I see where he's coming from. It was kind of like a act of desperation, like last ditch effort. I do think she could have handled it better and given Eli an ultimatum, like something to give her some more leverage, rather than just handing it over.
Mm-hmm. She almost fell on the sword without the sword really being in sight for her just yet. Sam, what are your thoughts on somebody you viewed as a little sister the night before, potentially knowing that you are on the chopping block and giving it to somebody that was in the majority alliance instead of you?
Yeah, that was a choice she made. It is hindsight being 2020. The way she explains it, I was like, I can see how you feel that way. But at the same, it's hard for me to not watch it and be like, I'm sitting right there. And we could have very easily just all she would, I'm like, I'm thinking like, she would just gave me that freaking idol. We could have just, anyone we want. I could have had the entire decision of who to go out beyond me. And no, I was like, but she gave it away. There's nothing I could have done. But it was shocking. It was even more shocking that he was like, there's just something about the shot of him wearing the immunity necklace and just seeing it extend from her hand. I'm like, of all people, him? Like, he's already got one. So now, puts him in a freaking fabulous place. Like, everyone wants to Eli right now. But, it's that felt like I'm like, it was just like what could have been if her and I handled that a little differently.
It seemed a little unfair almost. The game of Survivor plays out the way that it does. But your end game, your final swing at plate, was banking that Allie had this idol and that, hey, they're getting votes. You tried to be able to come up with that last minute play, and it just, kind of went out with a fizzle just because you didn't have all that information. She left you in the dark with that. I guess, watching it back, it seems, kind of hard to see you go into that tribal with such hope and then go out the way, that you did, unanimously. Could you kind of tell us about that? What your thoughts were after that tribal? Do you feel like you gave it everything that you could in that round? Maybe walk us through that experience.
Knowing what I think with the knowledge I had at the time, I don't know how much more I could have done. With current, after actually watching the show, in hindsight, I look at them they're probably what I don't. It's tough to say because I was at a point where it didn't feel like I was man without a tribe. It didn't feel like I had much going on. I had no idol. The writing was on the wall, and I was like, I needed that. I needed that. I needed that big swing like that, and then it didn't land for me. So like, as far as like how it being unanimous, I was at a point where I was like, I'm either gonna get out of this or not, but I'm getting votes right now. Like I knew that I was. I had like I knew you were gonna be reading my name.
Yeah.
So it was more or less I'm just like looking at Allie like, but like anything, but no. And then like so like I think it was like I knew I was dead by like the third time. Like mathematically
The third Sam.
How many was confirmed? Was it 4 with me? Whatever. It was like the second or third one. I was like, yeah, there's no way that he's gonna. I think even like it was like Hannah, Sam, second Sam. I was like, he's not gonna break out a second Hannah right now. It's just gonna be all me. And then it was. So like it was more of like, what stage of grief was I in? I think I was past denial. Denial was at night. Grief was that morning. There was anger mixed in there for sure. Anger was during the game, was during the challenge. I had reached acceptance by the time I got to that tribal. So I was like, that's it. It wasn't fun. I look back and like now that I've seen the show, I'm like, what would this guy have done? What would this character from like this season that would have done? Because I also only watch New Survivor, so the Survivor I've watched is all conniving and like like.
And we got a question in the chat from Matt. Why didn't you try to sell yourself as a free agent?
Yeah, I should have. Is the short answer, and I've like. It was a lot of it was because I think my confidence just got thrown because it was like I didn't feel great in the morning because I was like everyone here just tried to vote me out last night, and then like the challenge made it worse. So I was like, I just didn't feel like even me trying to be like, listen, I'm trying to sell myself as a free agent type, like me like guys, I'll vote for anybody. Didn't even like. It felt like the perception of me was that like even if I was like, guys, I will vote for anybody, I didn't really trust that other people would believe that, which is like you reflect on the people that you keep yourself with. I think just by me being honest but associating myself with Tyler hurt me in the long run is how it felt. Like, how am I like? It didn't feel like I had any chance. I'm like, how do I convince these people that I'm a free agent? I like just basically sold my soul to the fedora wearing devil for the last like 3 episodes, and it's clear I'm not like. And I think Tyler going out in such a dramatic way, I was like, it just felt like they're gonna start picking off everybody he was with. Where like eliminate, kill all his sons too. Just like get everybody, all his heirs out. It's and like that's how it felt. So I just didn't know if I had it didn't feel like I had much of a chance, even if I tried to like I feel like I was talking to somebody and I was just getting like, yeah, sure, and I'm like, yeah, they're not. This isn't.
They're not buying it.
But
I think that's okay. I mean, Sam, I think you played the best game for the cards that you were dealt with the knowledge of Survivor that you had. I think, you still had that impact on the game. We saw some killer challenge performances from you with the weight challenge and everything. Before we get into this final stretch of our podcast, doing our points, you are now on the jury. What were your thoughts on the jury? Who were you hoping to maybe see at the end? Who were you rooting for in the game without spoiling everything, of course? I guess, what was your mindset on the jury?
Like with the people who I just joined jury and I'm like, my thoughts on.
So you got 8 people left in the game. You got 8 people left in the game. Like, okay, who were you rooting for? Who, what are you basically hoping to see in a winner for this season?
My hope is my like hope was somebody from Grand Rapids. I think like truth serum me right when I got onto the jury. I was just like someone from Grand Rapids. But then like the more I do think about it, it's like I think when I was on there, my thought like now that I was like I get to choose a winner, what I was rooting for was I want to see whoever I could really think would be good at all, outwit, outplay, outlast. Who's good at all those? But I was like really reflective of the game I was playing. I was focused on outlast. Like I wanted to see who's like got it. Like who's the grittiest? Who's gonna like scratch and claw? Who's gonna win all? Like who's gonna keep winning these challenges? Because like I view that, I still do. I view that as like the purest, honest like. What you should do is try to like win as much immunity as possible. So like that's like what I was rooting for, and like I guess I was just rooting for competition. I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be kind of crazy. I wanted it to be good TV for the folks at home. So I was kind of rooting for chaos and rooting for like whatever options would have led us to the most like fun viewing experience later. Because at that point, as soon as I'm out, I'm a fan. Like, who cares? Like, I'm watching, and you know, if it wasn't against the rules, I would have like parked a chair and like went in the cornfield and just like watched every challenge. But like because I wanted to see all that. So what I was hoping for was good TV at the end of the day, and I'm excited to see the remaining few episodes.
I'm excited to get them out. I hope the Castaways provided that for you, Sam. So we will see how the rest of the game plays out in weeks to come. But let us get into our points for our power players of the week. For those that do not know, at this point, we do a top 3 ranking of our top 3 power players of the week. We will start with third place, go to second, and then first. Third place gets 1 point, second gets 3 points, and first will get 5 points. I will then tally them up and then post them on social media so that by the end of the season, we will see if the podcast aligns with who people think, who our top contenders are by the end of the game. So, all right, we can start off with Kathleen. Who is your third place player of the week?
I'm going with Carrie. Carrie Stands Unite.
All right.
I think she can definitely like play her cards right and sneak in somewhere and be that swing vote and really work her way towards the top.
All right, awesome. Carrie getting some love. Snyder, what about you? Third place for the week, 1 point.
Yeah, I think my third place this week goes to Hannah. I think she is just continuing to kind of flawlessly kind of navigate in and out any group that she's able to, and no one's really batting too much of an eye, and everyone says, oh, we love playing with her. She's the best. So I think that, she's slick.
All right, Hannah getting 1 point. Sam, third place for you for the week.
Dude, Carrie Stands Unite. I'm gonna go with Carrie too. I think it is partly. I said as much when I was playing, and we're both in a very similar spot where it's like we're being like kind of put down by but I think she has the chance to like play the game that I should have, where it's like people are down route. This is a chance for her to kind of like slip in, be a free agent. No one's gonna like. She definitely doesn't have a target on her back. So I think that's she. To me, it looks like she's in a good place. Like she is agreeable with everybody. Just felt like I think she's in a good spot to go along with.
Okay, Harry getting 1 point. So my third place for the week is going to go to Zoe. Actually, Zoe, I feel like was in an interesting spot. She was not included in the safety chain the night before. She had immunity though. And everybody kind of told her that she would have been included on it if she wasn't, but she really didn't have that confirmation. So heading into the third day, I think she played her spot pretty well. She flew under the radar for most of that challenge and wasn't cut out till the end, being a returner, playing the game that she's played. And then she, as the group initially start canoodling, you have the big safety chain, but Zoe's also having conversations with Allie and Carrie. And I feel like those are like keeping those people in on the bottom and still playing the like, hey, I wasn't in the safety chain either card. I think that's a really good play for Zoe. She ultimately goes with the safety chain alliance along with Carrie, but I think playing that middle is something that Zoe did very well this round, especially going into day 3. So Zoe's my third place. Kathleen, who is going to be your second place?
I'm gonna say Aubrey. I think she really put her neck out there, like when she kind of initiated like trying to vote out Tyler with Eli. Didn't work out for her, but I think her head is in the right spot in terms of trying to make moves, and I think socially she's in a really good spot where with the touchy subjects she didn't get votes, but she's put herself in that big alliance now, and I think she's in a good spot to where her name might not be thrown out there to be voted out, and she is like in the perfect middle ground where she can like lay low and make it to the end.
All right, Aubrey. Aubrey keeps impressing. She's very consistent, I feel like, each episode. Snyder, what about you? Your second place for the week?
I think it's, my second place vote's got to respect that power structure that's going on right now. And it's John. I think going forward, he's put a big target and big pressure on his back with it, but you got to respect the big moves to earn that big target. And he has shown he's willing to make that. He's, capable of coming back from exile a couple times and, not really being in a down bad spot from that. And then instantly right off the bat in the canoodling session, everyone goes to him and says, what's the move? So he's in a real spot of power.
All right, John, getting more points. Sam, your second place for the week.
For me, I'd say I have my top 3. The order is so hard. I think you can make arguments for either way. If I could do 1.5 points, I could, but I think my second would be I'm gonna go Luke for my second because I value Outlast. I think Luke has the physical capabilities to go on a run, and with that, we've seen Luke work well with everybody left and form those relationships with everybody left. He seems like someone who can slot himself into if whatever way the tribe wants to go. He feels like one that's it just feels like he knows the way to get himself on the right side every single time. I think, and when I was playing with him, I knew that he was going to be a problem. I think in confessional, I kept saying I have to solve the Luke problem. I don't know what it is, but I got to figure this out. And so he's just I respect his game. I think I have I made a little list of who's still in it, so I didn't forget anybody. But I'm looking at him yeah, he could just slot in with any of those people, and you can make different combinations of who's in your top 3, and he makes sense with anybody else.
All right, Luke getting on the board. I am also going with John. I think John recovered pretty flawlessly after his big move. John, his words are, when one supreme fades, another arises. And theoretically, that's him. And he is ready to go. I think John, has his guards up. He comes prepared to these conversations to shift the target. And instead they're coming to him to, get a target. And so I don't know how long that can last for him until he has to switch something up. But for this round specifically, heading into that end game, heading into the rest of day 3, I think he created this alliance, and whether it's who he wants to work with long term or not, he's got them for another round, and they wouldn't be working together without him. So John's getting my points this round, or for second place. And Kathleen, who is going to be your first place?
Gotta go with Hannah. Her gameplay is just so impressive to me. Just the way that, like, socially she is able to talk to everybody. I feel like she could literally sell me anything. She's like the perfect saleswoman for the game and like is so convincing. I do think she's gonna have to play it a little carefully because I feel like she is a bigger threat. But I am just so impressed with her, and I think she's doing amazing in the game, and she's so fun to watch. So,
heck yeah, Hannah getting first place points. Always happy to see those. Snyder, what about you? Who's your first place?
Yeah, number one for me, it's got to be Eli. I think that he's playing really well. He just gained a free parking idol to his benefit, but without any strings attached there, which is a great play or great stroke of fortune. I think that it's a reflection of his willingness to kind of go to the other sides. He's approached Aubrey for that failed kind of Tyler vote and learned that information, and is like approaching Allie now and kind of figuring that out. And I think he's kind of like sneaky, really good in challenges. He won like the ring toss one for his side. He won this one. That's like 2 of the last 3. I think he's heating up a little bit, and no one's really regarding him as much of a challenge beast at this time. So I think he's got really good sides to his game.
Heck yeah. All right. Eli getting a top slot. Sam, who is going to be your first place for the week?
Yeah, I have to agree with Snyder. It's hard. I'm going to go Eli. It's hard for me. For a guy that is guaranteed top 8 with his challenge immunity idol and then was just gifted on a silver platter, guaranteed top 7 as well, that like I can't ignore that to not think that he's in the best spot, because like you're guaranteed top 7. Well, now you're looking at it's like a couple key moves, maybe win another immunity. It's like to get yourself to top 6 to 5 and then to 4, you really only got to make 2 big moves to get to like top 4. And I think in the process of pulling that off, you're going to get enough to show a jury that you should win. So he just has to me, it looks like he is on a great path. He's got a lot set up for him. And then if in doing that naturally, he should set himself up for who would it? Yeah, like a jury would want to pick that.
Yeah, I'm on the Eli train this week as well. Eli is getting my first pick for this week. I have been a little bit hesitant with giving points to Eli. I feel like Eli has been playing this game for the first 2 days of not making any waves. They're very smart moves, but it feels like people around him are having more of an impact on the game, whereas Eli feels like he's playing a lot more reserved. And we don't really get to see like those benefits to his game until this round, essentially. So Eli wins the popularity contest, basically. He is gifted an idol from an alliance that he just turned on the night before, voting out, Allie's brother in the game. And he is still very much ingrained with this, majority alliance. So this is a really great round for Eli. And he very much didn't have to do too much work this round, get his hands bloody at all, really. And a lot of that is due to the hard gameplay that he's been playing behind the scenes. The first 2 days that has gone kind of unnoticed by a lot of the players and maybe some people on the panel. But Snyder, I know you've been hyping up Eli quite a bit at watch parties, and I'm glad that I can finally dish some appropriate points to Eli for the game that he's been playing. So Eli gets 3 of our 4 top spots. Kathleen had a ladies' night with Hannah, Aubrey, and Carrie. No complaints there. Everybody has been playing a great game. Sam, to your point, everybody has something that you can probably point to as contributing to the game, and that's something that as a host I am very happy to see. So Sam, before we turn out for the night, what do you want to leave the audience with? Any final thoughts on the game that you played? Any final thoughts on your experience?
Oh man. Final thoughts on the experience. Should have watched the show. Should have learned the rules. Would have been probably a good idea. But other than that key blunder, I am proud of how despite the comments made by the remaining cast members, pretty proud of my performance. And it was a great time. And I do look back with enough where it's like, yeah, obviously you change things, but there's nothing like you told me before I played, like, don't do anything. You don't want to be sitting around. Last longer than Tyler. You don't want to be sitting around after you play like, gosh, I wish I did this. There's not much I would change, and that's at the end of the day, that's what I wanted. Like, I had a great time. I think I played the game I wanted to play. And I got no regrets other than probably could have handled things a little better. But there's not much even looking back, there's not much I would have changed with what I would have done, which is good enough for me. For a guy that was genuinely thinking I was like, oh yeah, I'll be able to just go out to the farm. I'll get eliminated like 4th, and then I just get to hang out for 3 days. I was very excited with how I went, how much Survivor actually got to play over that 36 hours that we got to 48, however long we were out there.
It was a long time. I'm glad you had that experience, Sam. That's something that, I always hope for, especially, as the producer, but also as a friend. I'm glad you were able to participate in it and have the experience that we had. I'm not quite sure what the future of our franchise is for Survivor Grand Rapids, but if we ever
one more in you, right?
We'll see. But if we ever decide to do a Total Drama Island Grand Rapids, I'll know who to call first. So,
am I not Owen from Total Drama Island?
Hey,
that's at the end of the day.
That's a good comp. That's a good
comp.
If it was Total Drama Island, I think you have it in the bag if you want to play that Owen game. But yeah, again, thanks for coming on tonight, Kathleen and Snyder. Thank you for joining us. It's been a blast to recap this episode and recap these final episodes heading into our end game. Just to update the fans on where we're at with things, I have one more episode in the vault completed. I'm still working on episode 13, I believe. So episode 12 airs tomorrow at 7 p.m. Episode 13 should be out next week. We are competing with the return of Survivor 50. So, I wonder who's going to win that battle. So watch it when you can.
Do we have a Mr. Beast advantage that we get to use in episode 13 or 14? Maybe
we're still working on that partnership, Sam.
The Billie Eilish collab,
the Billie Eilish praying idol might make its appearance. But yeah, just to update, episode 12 ready to go for tomorrow at 7 p.m. Be sure to tune in on YouTube for that. Episode 13 should be done, but keep an eye on our social media in case something happens and I don't have it completed. And the finale has not been started yet, but it will be under construction ASAP. I'm sorry, folks. It's just the art of the deal at this point, which I hate to kind of say. Why did I just say that? But anyways, it's the art of the production, I guess. So, yes, thank you for joining us tonight. Survivor Grand Rapids podcast. We are done, and everybody can head back to camp. Good night.
Good night, Jeff.